Hello, hello.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I'm wearing your favorite color, Cheryl.
Yeah, I see. And mine, look, I started to wear red today too. And today is Valentine's Day. So
Yes, happy Valentine's Day. Cheryl, Eva, is it
Yeah.
Eva or Ava? Miss Coleman?
I call her Ava.
Eva.
Eva. I just want to make sure I have that right. And thank you so much, ladies, for being here. We have a couple more minutes to have others filter in. And this is the webinar for All Voices Welcome, covering diverse communities. Really excited for this topic of conversation. And so it's a webinar based, so we won't be able to see participants, but there'll be options to answer questions towards the end. So there is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and you can type your question there, or you could type it in the chat as well. Or you could raise your hand and I will be able to unmute those at the end. So a couple more minutes while we wait. I'm going to give a brief introduction to Miss Cheryl and Miss Ava, and we will get started.
Okay.
Cheryl, I have your graphic ready too, so
Okay.
you can just let me know when you want to call for it.
Okay. It's I was just trying, my whole premise is that because it's talking about covering diverse communities, and all of our communities are diverse even within themselves. So that's what
Right.
my whole premise is, and that anything you um
I'm going to try. I'm testing it so you can see it. Do you see it?
yeah, and I just want to jump start it by saying that um, one of the best ways to help you to become more inclusive is to join organizations, especially those that are um, like the ones mentioned here.
Okay.
And
You want me to? I can stop the share. You want to have it up now when people join in, or you want to wait?
no, I don't. Who's introducing?
Lauren, who just let us in.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and get started now. I do see the picture up, so we can leave that there, or however you you gals want to go with that. That's all on whichever is easiest for you. And so we'll get started here. So thank you folks for all joining us, students, for the conversation today. All voices welcome, covering diverse communities. And yeah, with entertainment world going in the direction that it's going, this topic is highly, highly um, important, and so excited to dive in. So a little bit about Miss Smith. Cheryl has been, Cheryl Smith is the publisher of iMessenger Media LLC, which includes publications Texas Metro News, Garland Journal, and iMessenger. She also hosts radio talk show Cheryl's World on Blog Talk Radio. And Cheryl is also the current secretary of National Association of the National Association of Black Journalists and Region 4 president of the National Newspaper Publishers Association. So also we have here Miss Ava Coleman. And I don't, for some reason, Miss Coleman, I don't have your biography sheet. So could
Right.
you do for us a little bit of a background information on your experience, your story?
Okay, I'm here as support for Miss Smith today. I'm her wing woman, and great being with you all today. I am Eva Coleman. I actually am secretary for the Student Television Network Board of Directors, and I'm also very active with organizations of color. Very active with the National Association of Black Journalists. I also serve with Ms. Smith in the Dallas-Fort Worth area on the Dallas-Fort Worth Association of Black Journalists Executive Board. And I'm the lifestyle culture editor for her publications, iMessenger, Texas Metro News, and the Garland Journal here in Dallas, Texas. So yes, I'm here as support as we dive into this topic. She is definitely a guru for this topic. She is just a mastermind who has forged so many relationships that heavily emphasize the importance of covering diverse communities. So I'm glad to be here today.
Amazing. Thank you, Ms. Coleman. All right, ladies, it's all on you. We are so ready to hear and take us through. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, happy Valentine's Day to everyone. You are my sweethearts today, who I'm spending my time with. And thank you for being here. Thank you for your interest in something I love, and that is journalism and careers in media. And we're going to talk about covering diverse communities today. And when you talk about covering diverse communities, inclusion is key. And I'm going to start by saying the best way you can cover anything in your career is to become involved in organizations like STN. And I have a number of them up as you see on the screen. And everything from based on your race, your gender, a number of things that people think separate us, but actually bring us together in the whole scheme of things. And this is really important. I belong to several of the organizations on here. And then also, if you see the artwork, it's inclusion, it's involving everyone instead of excluding anyone. And that's really important. And I know it's been attributed to Shakespeare, Eva, and to others that said that they would rather one guilty man go free than for 1,000 innocent people to be executed or terminated. And I say that because when you exclude someone, you think about how you're excluding them and who they are and what they stand for, and that is not good. So diversity is important. When you look around the rooms, when you're in classrooms, when you're in boardrooms, when you're in organizations, you want to see someone who looks like you. Thanks for that screen. And we can share that with you later, but I want to talk about what is a diverse community. And I think that Eva will agree with me that almost any community you go into today, there's going to be diversity in that community. And so, what do you have to do? This is about relationship building. This is about exploration. This is about visiting and becoming familiar. And that's what I do. So, when I walk into a room, I'm looking to see people who look like me, but I'm also looking to see people who don't look like me and find out about them and find out what makes them feel good. And that's the beauty of the organizations that I showed you on the screen, because I found out things that helped me to have a better understanding of why people were upset about the name of the Washington football team. Why were they upset? And so now I live that life that says, I understand this is offensive, and so I will not do that. And the same with, as we deal with, some folks will say, you've heard over the past year, Black Lives Matter. And for me, I could say back in the 60s, it was Black Power. And it was not saying that someone else was powerless. It was just affirming who we are. And if you get involved, if you understand what another person's plight is, instead of taking your plight into the situation, you'll be a better journalist, you'll be a better person. Now I want to make sure that I take questions and we talk about, how do you cover a diverse community? There could be language barriers, there could be cultural barriers. And this is something that the US Census did last year. What they actually did was they went to people in the community and said, we want you to be census takers, because they wanted people who were comfortable in walking in the community. And I said, I could do that because I know how to walk in my community and hey, what's happening and everything. And I can walk in any community because there's a comfort level of respect that I have, and that is key in covering communities. Any community, you have to respect them. You may not know them, you may not agree with them. I've covered stories where people have been very anti-Black, and guess what? I still gave them the respect that I give to people because of who I am. And I'm telling you, the best way you can cover others is to know who you are and to walk in that truth. Now, we have a relationship. My publications have a relationship with the Dallas Morning News. Dallas Morning News is a daily paper in Dallas, Texas, and it's a regional publication, and it's big. My papers are not so big, but we do a good job of covering our community, which is diverse in the sense of biracial, bisexual. We have to look at everything. We have people who have disabilities and or impairities that we have to acknowledge also. And we look, you want to recognize everyone who's in the community, and so you have to be in the community to be able to cover them. And so Dallas Morning News executive said, we aren't doing a good job of covering the Black community. So they contacted me and we talked about what a relationship would look like. And part of that, what makes it work for us is we have respect for one another. Dallas Morning News respects me in my publications, and these are my publications in the background here. And I respect them and the journalism that they are trying to do, and that they realize they have a problem, that they have not been feet on the ground like they need to, and getting to know these communities. So when you, and many of you know, when you're able to go back to school, you say, yay, I'm looking forward to that time when I bet you wish you had that cafeteria food now, don't you? But now you will appreciate it when you go back and you'll look at where did you sit in the cafeteria. Now, there were times where, you know, and I can remember, even though it's been a long time ago, last century, even I remember being a freshman and we sat with freshmen, and then as I became more well-known, I remember I became an athlete, and so athletes sat together. And then you saw students, people segregate themselves by their interests, and that's okay. But you have to be able to, if you were going to tell a story about your cafeteria, you can't concentrate on just one segment. You can't concentrate on that segment of those who are athletes only. Because guess what? The athletes, and yes, they felt cheerleaders were athletes also. So the cheerleaders sat there, I think because a lot of them dated the athletes too. But then you had the scholars. But if you were going to, that's a community. Your cafeteria is a community. So how do you cover that cafeteria? You go and visit each and every one of them. If you wrote a story about your cafeteria and you left a person, even a person in a wheelchair, or the person who may be the only Native American in the room. And the reason why you miss is because you did not explore. You did not step out of your comfort zone. You did not have all senses working. And we saw this, Eva, you know, you and I were talking about it earlier, how I would not want to be a sports reporter covering the Dallas Mavs this past week because they missed the story that when it was finally pointed out, the owner of the Mavs said this has been going on for months and no one picked up on it. So you have to be all in. And that's how you can cover a diverse community. And you have to understand what is a diverse community. You have to understand that each community is diverse. You are not going to go into an all-white community. There's going to be somebody in there that is going to be diverse in other ways. And you have to recognize them. And that's why, if you show the organization again, Eva, that's why we have so many organizations that are journalism organizations, because, for example, you have AAJA. I don't know, is this showing me pointing to it, Eva? No, if you point to AAJA, that's Asian American Journalists Association. Okay. And they felt they needed an organization that would address their needs, their interests, their concerns, and the mission and how they were trying to bring more Asian American journalists into the folds, into the industry. And we have, if you look at, you have all of these, you have NABJ, you see, National Association of Hispanic Journalists, you have the Journalism and Women's Symposium, you have the Society of Professional Journalists. And look here, you have NLGJA, and that is for our Lesbian Gay Journalists Association. And so, but let me tell you what, I can bet you there are lesbian and gay journalists and all the other organizations on there. Would you give me that, Eva?
Yes, I would.
And,
Definitely.
and so we can't leave them out. Now, NLGJA said we need someone, an organization to address our concerns specifically. Now, in NLGJA, we have had the transgender community involved, but guess what? Up there we have Trans Journalism Association, because evidently they said their issues weren't being addressed. On the NABJ board, we have a student board member because we needed to address student concerns. So I'm telling you that whatever you are a part of, you need to find out and realize that everybody is not like you. That's where the diversity is. And if you think everyone is like you, then folks are hiding. And they may be hiding because they don't feel comfortable telling you that they are a certain way, or it saves conflict. And I say conflict is good if you can take care of it in the room that you're in. Yesterday, I was talking to a member of NAHJ, National Association of Hispanic Journalists, and the person made a comment, and you keep this in mind, because don't be upset at people because they tell you that something offends them. Try to understand it. But anyway, this member of NAHJ said something about being tired of being the low person on the totem pole. And I said, you cannot say that. I said, I have members of NAJA, the Native American Journalists Association, who told me that totem poles are sacred to Native Americans. And it is offensive when people use them just however they want to use them. And so it's a sensitivity thing. You have to be, I was comfortable enough to say that to my friend and to live my own truth, because I said, once I know better, I do better. So I will explain to anyone else that, hey, this is offensive. So I said, why don't you try saying ladder, low rung on a ladder, as opposed to, because it's not offended. A ladder is an inanimate object and not tied to anyone, and so it wouldn't be offensive. It has not been deemed sacred. But that's a part of understanding and being able to serve diverse communities. And that's what makes my relationship with the Dallas Morning News really work, because we're very honest, we're candid, we have those discussions, and the goal is to be better. And that's what I'd like for all of you, to be better, to try and understand. I want to understand why there were senators who saw compelling graphics and information, but they voted to acquit the former President Donald Trump. I want to see why I want to talk to the serial rapist in a North Texas jail right now and find out why he attacked women of a certain color and age group. I want to find out those things, because if I can share it, we can hopefully make this world a better place. And that's what inclusion, diversity, covering communities, people just want to be heard. They want to be seen. They want to be valued and respected. And with that, I think
I wanted to share something too, Cheryl. Even with that, I think what happens a lot of times I notice with students, high school students in particular, that I've worked with over the years, I tell them you have to get out of the friend zone. They're constantly going to their friends to interview them for stories and things that they cover because their friends are going to make them look good. And it's a matter of, no, you
yes.
have to, what'd you say?
Their friends are going to say yes.
Yes, their friends are going to say yes. And so they quickly go to the friends. I'm like, get out of the friend zone. That is not going to give you the true answers that you definitely need to make your products or your stories pop. They're going to be biased wholeheartedly. And it's a matter of stepping outside of your comfort zone and being intentional about reaching others. It's something that you have to do intentionally. And so what you touched on, of course, was spot on. We have to recognize who's in the room and make sure that we approach and intentionally go to those people to enrich and make our things more balanced. And, people always say, you have to, when it comes to even themselves, I'm not biased. No, we all even have our own biases,
Yes, we do.
And so when you say I'm a non-biased journalist or a non-biased reporter, no, you must not be human if that's the case. And so there are just some things we have to recognize about ourselves when it comes to our intentionalness, I guess, if that's a word, about going to others and bringing the truth, whole truth, to what we produce.
And we have to look at ourselves. We're historians, Eva, and we have to say that if we don't tell the story the way it is, for us to say, I know that my school in East Orange, New Jersey, was had like about 500 students, like 496 actually, and I do know that while they were all majority African American, they were not all African American, and you need to recognize that no one is invisible. And when folks say they don't see color, that's an insult actually, because you need to see the color. I need to see, your blue eyes or your blonde hair or your high cheekbones. I need to see it. I need to recognize it, celebrate it, and love you for it.
Exactly.
And we do have our biases. We do bring them in. I had biases when I came from the north to the south. And you hear about this Southern hospitality, so you expect for everyone to be really, really nice until you're riding down the highway and you get a finger or something. And maybe that's a Southern hospitality wave that I need to learn also. But you're learning, but you have to be open to learn. You have to be open to going up to someone you don't know, like you said, getting out of that friend zone, and listening and hearing what they had to say, listening, hearing their pain, hearing their joy, hearing their love, and understanding them. That's what's important about the work that we do. We're supposed to tell it like it is, and you can't tell it like it is if you aren't living like it is. If you walk into a room, and I found that I talk to students, I'll say, when you walk into a room, do you survey the room and see who's in there? Do you look and see? And most reporters, when they would come back out, ask how many people were there, because that's the first thing. That's me see if you're paying attention. If you see you're in a banquet hall and there are 30 tables and each table has 10 seats at it, you would say it was about 300, roughly 300 people there. And then you say, go to ethnic breakdown. I didn't even notice, and that's what I hear. Is that a good answer, Eva?
That's not a good answer at all.
And I just, that's
the answer.
Yes, and do you see them? Do you go to the table, like back to that cafeteria? Do you go to the table where people look most like you? Or do you say, I'm going to go to another table? I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to get to know them. I'm going to reach out. And I guarantee you that should some of you, let's just say you came from New Jersey and every job you got was south of the Mason-Dixie line, which means you came now south of South Carolina. Actually, you were in South Carolina and further. And then you had to change who you were totally. Coming from New Jersey, we didn't speak to everybody. Coming to the South, you all speak. You wave. You know, you look at people. And where I grew up, we didn't make eye contact unless we knew you or were getting ready to say something to you. And it's a norm. It's not. And some people might say, oh, that is so rude.
Right.
And, but it's understanding people. And if you do not know, that's because you don't understand diversity. You don't understand, and you're looking at people through your lens and your life. And there, those biases you talked about, even because remember when we had the Super Bowl in Dallas and it was snowing, and there were people walking around in t-shirts and folks were like, I bet they're cold. No, they weren't, because you don't know their reality. You're seeing it through your lens and not theirs. And that's what we want people, in order for you to cover diverse communities, you have to see other folks' experience. You have to see other folks' lives and where they're from, because for me, it's snowing in Dallas right now. Well, it's a little bit of snow, nothing like the snow that I
It's a
had.
lot of snow. It's a lot of snow for us.
How many inches is it? Has it gotten to an inch?
Probably.
Well,
I
see,
think so.
and this would be, and folks, if you don't have to go outside, don't go. Well, no, what we did, we put on our gloves and our boots and our long johns and jeans and everything and covered up and earmuffs, and we went outside and had a funky good time in the snow. And that's but that's understand, but that's our reality, looking at it through that lens. And when you're looking at covering diverse communities, when you're looking at whatever you do in life, I would tell you, you need to respect yourself and respect others. And that makes covering diverse communities, makes living in a diverse society, everything, it makes it better when you try to hear other folks and not always try to tell your story and make your story their reality. Now, I don't know how much time we
That's
have
true.
for questions, but that, if I leave that with you, the person, when someone comes to you and says, you know, gosh, this was really hard for me, your response shouldn't be, well, this was harder for me than, you know, couldn't have been as hard as that, because that's not your reality. Maybe the question would be, well, tell me about it. What made it hard for you? And getting to
Right.
understand people. And that's what folks want you to do. They want to know that you care, that you're listening to them instead of trying to tell them how they should feel.
Good stuff, Cheryl. I mean, that's awesome. As always, I wanted to point out how so many students, what I learned, are so unaware of the organizations for communities of color, for communities of diverse backgrounds or different diverse abilities. And they just aren't aware of those organizations. But there is a reason why those organizations exist. And if we could, I guess, kind of touch upon that before we open it up to questions. The importance of those organizations, why they exist.
Right. And that is really critical, because when you think about what you want to do, and we have done a great example of that with the Black journalists, because we started an urban journalism workshop. Now, let's face it, as a child, you're thinking about what you want to be, and you're getting your images from television, you're getting them from someone in a neighborhood. But I can't tell you how many people I know who said they were going to be doctors, so they got to college and took that first biology class. And when you think about that, we prepare you. We prepare aspiring journalists. STN helps give you an idea of what it's like. So you're not cold going to college because you tell your parents, oh, I'm going to college to be a doctor. I'm going to college to be a journalist. And then you get there and you say, I don't like it. Some people stay in that career. They finish college and they do it for the rest of their lives. And then 40, 50 years later, they're like, I wish I could have. These organizations are important because they help you navigate. You can get internships, scholarships, fellowships, and you have that camaraderie of knowing other folks are doing what you're doing, going through some of the same trials and triumphs. And we're there, we're like a source of support. I think whatever your profession is, you should be looking for an organization of those professionals, whether it's doctor, educator, uh, nurses, all professions have organizations. And there's a reason why, because you need someone who knows what you're going through. That's why they have organizations, Mothers Against Teen Violence, Mothers Against Police Brutality, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They all came out of a need because people who had gone through things needed someone to talk to. We need that in journalism. We need that. You need to understand when you're in television, some of you want to be in television, when someone says something about your outfit that you had on, believe me, you aren't the first and you won't be the last. But guess what? In that organization, you're going to find people who you can talk to who will share their experience with you, that will help you get through it. And so you need to look at a membership, and there are student chapters of a lot of organizations. And some will take high school students, college students, and as a professional, you should belong to those organizations, grow with them, and then in turn give back and be there and be a source of inspiration and support for those who come after you.
And don't be intimidated by the name. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to be Black to be a member of the National Association of Black Journalists.
Right.
You actually
Get the
are a
scholarship.
supporter. There are scholarship opportunities, all types of stuff for these different organizations. And I think sometimes people get caught up in the name and they're like, oh, that organization isn't for me. But if you want to learn more, dig deeper in your understanding and join these organizations. And it will help you tremendously in all aspects of your life.
And then we get back to what I said about exploration and doing your research, because one thing that a current legislator tried to apologize for not doing her research and not knowing what an organization was about. But this is someone, and for many of you, you think by the time you get in your 40s, you should know better. But do your research and make sure that their goals align with yours and their mission aligns with yours, because there are some organizations you don't want to be a part of. But if it's a professional organization that betters and helps your industry that you want to be a part of, believe me, I don't care how dynamic you all are, and I know you all got it going on and could do it, but you need to work with others, and you have to realize that you can't do it all by yourself, and you're going to need help. You're going to need mentors, and you need to be a mentor. Now, someone asked, how old do you need to be to become a member of this organization? Okay, this organization specifically, STN, Eva?
I think they may be talking about the organizations that we mentioned. I know Cheryl mentioned earlier how several of them do have high school students that can join. They have memberships. It's basically, you can visit any of them. And as Cheryl mentioned, we will share the slide. We will, so where you can see the different ones that are listed. And you can go to their particular websites and see their membership tiers. Several of them have memberships open for high school students, and programs, summer camps, summer programs and institutes for you to dive deeper and apply for positions to participate in these camps and get scholarship dollars, which is very important. But again, the memberships vary from organization to organization.
Right. And that's El Major. I just want to say this. Sometimes you just have to ask. And this may be a little, and Eva, hold up your hand if I'm going too far. But you know, I love to tell my story about Demondre. And Demondre was in sixth grade. The journalism workshop was for, it started out being for high school urban journalism workshop, but we found there were a lot of college students that were not prepared. So we started letting them in. And then Demondre's mother came to me because his older sister had been involved, and she asked, could he participate? And it was a 12-week program, 9 to 5, very intense. And I told her if he could put up with me for 12 weeks, then come on. And I tell my story about people in our community that don't mean us any good. They will find something for young people to do until they're old enough to do what they want them to do. And we need to not turn our young people away. We need to embrace them. And so I'd venture to say that if you went to any organization that these professional organizations we're talking about and said you were interested, there would be someone there that would say that they're going to take you under their wing and they're going to work with you.
Yes, so our middle schoolers, yes, there are opportunities for you. STN is comprised of middle and high school students. And so there are, like she mentioned, Demondre, we will never forget him. He was a dynamic sixth grader when he came to our journalism workshop. And again, he was there on time.
And we treated him like he was a high school or a college student. You don't get any breaks here. You are going to be expected to follow protocol, and because we're trying to prepare you, you know, I call it I went to Florida A&M University, and we say that Florida A&M prepares you to be able to go and be a success anywhere, and that's what we try to do, especially with our organizations that I'm a part of.
Good question.
Yes.
Any other questions for us?
Yes, this whole discussion has been so eye-opening, you know, that diversity is really all around us, and then even opening up the lens to LGBTQ plus and disabilities, you know, individuals living with disabilities. So really fascinating that it's not just, you know, what we think is diversity, right?
Right.
And yes, if anyone has, we have about 10 more minutes for questions here. If anyone has questions, just feel free to type the question in the chat or in the question answer box at the bottom of the Zoom screen, or you can raise your hand and I will be able to unmute to answer the question live.
You know, it's really important that we think people die in silence because of fear of being judged, because people around them, because people don't seem open. And that's what we have to open up. And I've been, one thing that will help you as you're not just covering diverse communities, but living life is like, I don't allow any ethnic jokes around me. I just don't tolerate it. And so I live a certain life in a certain way because the person who has to put up with that, they usually put up with it in silence. And you may be saying something about someone and not knowing that it's impacting them because they have not told you that they're dyslexic. That's diverse. They may not have told you that they're actually hearing impaired. That, you know, my hair covers my hearing gadgets. A number of things they may not have said. So I'm really sensitive about the jokes I make about folks because you never know what a person is going through. You never know what's in that UGG. Maybe they only have 2 toes. You just don't know it, and you're making a toeless person joke. So you have to watch. You have to decide what type of person you're going to be, and you have to have a level of sensitivity just says that you're going to be careful. You're going to be careful about what you say and what you spend your time on. The thing you have to realize that is if you're going to be a journalist, especially, and Eva, you've heard me say that people value what comes out of your mouth. So you have to be really careful what you say.
Exactly.
You could ruin your reputation. You could lose your job, and you could not mean anything, but it's, your world. I'm asking you to step outside of your world and see into others. It's really amazing to me when I talk to young girls and they'll tell me that their moms don't understand why they like this guy so much. And I know that, and I'm looking at them like, do you not realize that at one point your mom was your age? And she, we all went through that thing. And yes, I still remember the guy that I liked. I was maybe a junior in high school, and he never gave me the time of day. And never, ever, ever did he. And I don't think it was because he just didn't like me. He just liked someone else. And, but so you just never know. And so that's why it's important. Decide what type of person you're going to be. Are you going to be a person that people respect what's coming out of your mouth? And they respect the work that you do. They respect the work that you do because you do your research, you explore, you ask questions, and I'm putting my information in here so that if you wanted to get in touch with me, you could reach me and ask questions, and always find people that you can ask questions and bounce things off, because you don't have all the answers. And you never will have all the answers. And that is so important, because then if you keep with me, you can call. If you ask me anything about Black people, I may say, you know what? I may not have the answer for all Black people, but I have an answer from this Black person's perspective. And I can tell you this. It's really simple. Just like I tell young girls, if you're having a problem with the boy that you like, don't go to your girlfriends and ask them for advice. Go to another guy and ask him. Go to your brother, go to your dad, go to your uncle, go to a mentor and ask them, because the girl is going to tell you an entirely different answer, usually from the guy, because he's working from his perspective. And it's the same thing with journalism or whatever you decide to do in life. You have to have people around you who are going to tell you the truth, who are going to tell you, does this dress make my butt look big? Um, it's a cute dress. And you're going to have that conversation. Your friend will know how to tell it to you. Some will say, don't ask me that question. And some people will say, oh, girl, you look fine, and go laugh at you behind your back. So you want to have people in there who you can trust, people who will help you in navigating this career. People are going to tell you your story. You didn't put all the work you needed to put into that story. And that happens when people will tell you a good story and they know it wasn't good. You have to have honesty, sincerity. You have to do your research. You have to have a comfort level that says, I want to know more. I want to be a better person, because the more you know, the better person you will be. The more you know about others, the more you try to understand and have compassion, because you're going to have your preconceived notions. And guess what? You're going to come out of them saying, you're going to go and interview somebody one time and you're like, I'm so afraid because I've heard all this about him. And you're going to come away, they were really nice. And you're going to be totally surprised. And that is a lesson for you to know that everything you think is not what it is. And some things are. I can tell one actor that I know, Eva, I say that he is, every time I've seen him, been with him, he's been the same way he is out in the public, and that is Will Smith. That is Will Smith. There are others that, as soon as those cameras are off, they are the meanest people in the world.
Right.
And you don't want to be around them, and they're complaining and very dismissive. You're going to get different people like that. In this business, I value people who are for real. I tell you, be for real. Be willing to ask the questions. Be willing to say, I don't know. Can you help me understand? And that's how you would be better at serving, covering, and reporting on diverse communities.
Inclusion is key. I put the graphic back up. If you want the image quickly, you guys can take a screenshot of it. It is available for you to see. And again, she has compiled all of the organizations on this graphic and some great ones. Join.
And there are more. And the thing that I missed one that I'm on. And the thing about it is, you have the beauty of something I didn't have, and that is to that you have Google. Google journalism organizations for people who like sports.
Right.
And then you're going to get that. Google journalism organizations for people who like cooking. Something's going to come up. And then you do that exploration and decide what is a fit for you. But belonging will help you with a lot of work that you need to do to be the best that you can be.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Ms. Cheryl and Eva. This was really a great conversation. We don't have any last minute questions here, but if anyone does have a last minute question, we have a little bit of time left. I thought it was great. Just, you know, we don't know the whole truth and of someone else's life, and until we open ourselves up to the options, you know, that they might be experiencing, then that's when we, you know, can truly like connect. So I just thought it was really great.
Well, and you know, Lauren, for an example, have you ever seen someone with a really weird hair color? And you say, oh my gosh, where do they think they're going looking like that? Well, a conversation with them may find out that lime green was their mom's favorite color and their mom just passed.
Right.
They dyed their hair lime green to celebrate or to get through it. You never know what someone's going through. And I've just, in my older age, have just been, let people live. And if I want to find out, don't be so ready to criticize. You could ask some questions. I've seen people dress a certain way because, and I know some people I went to school with would love it now that you can wear your jeans all torn up, because guess what? They were wearing torn jeans because that was all they had.
Right.
And I had a girlfriend, she couldn't buy expensive sneakers, and for us, expensive sneakers were the $9.99 Converse, which they call Chuck Taylors or Chucks now. And so she had little dollar store white sneakers, and so she just decorated them. She just decorated them so people, oh, those sneakers are really cute, and they didn't pay any attention that she had paid like $1 for them because of how she decorated them. But that was her reality and how to get over. We don't know what folks' realities are. And so you can't cover them if you don't know, if you don't go and ask. Right. Why are you not working? Why do you wear your pants sagging? You know, why do you not have car insurance? All of these things are questions you ask someone, and you don't make the assumption that they don't have these things, or what would you like to do with your life? And don't assume that everyone who is Latino knows someone who could clean your house, for example.
Right.
So these are things that we need to understand. Don't think someone Black told me you're Black and you don't eat chicken, you know, and this is what they told me just this past week. And I don't eat any meat, and except for fish, and I'm trying to get to that, move away from that also, but it has nothing to do with, like, I know some Black people don't want to eat watermelon, in public because of the stereotypes and what people said about Black people and watermelon. I love watermelon, and I'm going to eat it if I feel a desire to. And the thing you need to realize, even though you all are young, Eva and Lauren included, that life is so short and you have so much to live for. You don't want to spend it on the negative parts. You want to enjoy life, and you don't want to waste it on the small things. And the small things are being hypercritical and not trying to understand others and get to know folks. Because you miss out on some really wonderful people in life if you let what is different about you keep you apart.
Love what you
Absolutely.
said. You said let people live. I think that's great. Let people live, and don't be afraid to have the hard conversations. And so, sometimes people get uncomfortable talking about these things, but you know, get out of that friend zone and get out of that comfort zone. And so, thank you so much. Ms. Smith is thebomb.com, but you can reach her again. She's the publisher of iMessenger Media, iMessenger Texas Metro News, and the Garland Journal in Dallas, Texas. She's also, as mentioned earlier, secretary for the National Association of Black Journalists and Region 4 president for the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Lauren, it's been great having you open up with us and for us. We appreciate you and all of your assistance.
Thank you so much, ladies. It was such a great conversation. And yeah, step into reality, ask questions. I love it. I love it. We'll be closing out here and the recording will be available. So have a great rest of the day on your other sweat sessions and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Cheryl. Thanks, Eva.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.